massive shout out to the Cave of Dragonflies, without whom this video would not have been possible. I used both their Pokeball capture calculator for Generation 1, as well as their very detailed Safari guide in order to help crunch the numbers for this video. You guys are the GOAT. In the first season of the Pokemon anime, in the episode The Legend of Dratini, an episode that didn't air here in the West due to the prevalence of guns in this episode, both Ash Ketchum and Brock managed to capture 30 Tauros when given 30 Safari Balls by the Safari Ward. If you played the games, then you know how unlikely this is. Tauros is one of the hardest captures in the entire Safari Zone, so I wanted to know, if this was the games, what would it take for you to be like Ash Ketchum, have 30 Safari Balls, and manage to capture a Tauros with every single Safari Ball? So that's what this video is about. We're gonna have to make some assumptions in order to make a calculation like this because, yes, I understand the anime and the games are not the same thing. However, we need some foundation in order to make this work. So for this, I'm using the encounter table from Pokemon Japanese Green and Blue to make this work, since I'm assuming that's what the original writers were also basing the anime off. Also, I'm going to make the assumption that no bait or rock was used because that would make the calculations too complex. In the Gen 1 Safari Zone, there are two areas you can find Tauros in. In Area 2 of the Safari Zone, it is a 1% encounter rate, and they tend to have level 28 Tauros, and more commonly at Area 3 of the Safari Zone, there's a slightly better 4% encounter rate, and they tend to be around level 26. For this, let's assume that he catches half of the Tauros in one area and half of the Tauros in the other area. I think that's fair to do, right? So 15 of them from Area 2 and 15 of them from Area 3. So let's do the math here. Also, a quick warning, I'm not a mathematician, so if I get something wrong here, please let me know in the comments, and I will put a pinned comment correcting any mistakes I make. So here, we're trying to calculate the probability of multiple independent things happening. First, Ash encountering 15 Tauros in Area 2, then capturing all of those Tauros with a single Pokeball, and then Ash encountering another 15 Tauros in Area 3 and capturing them with a single Safari Ball each time. Since these events are independent, we can multiply their individual probabilities to find their overall probability. The probability of Ash encountering Tauros in Area 2 is 1%, so he would need to encounter a Tauros, and then another one, and then another one, and so on 15 times in a row. And the way we would calculate this would be 1% to the power of 15, or 0.01 to the power of 15. According to the Cave of Dragonflies, in Area 2, you encounter a level 28 Tauros, and the probability after capturing level 28 Tauros is 6.563%, which would be a 6.563% chance every time. You would do a similar calculation for the capturing. Since you have a 6.563% chance of capturing the Tauros with each Safari Ball, you would take that 6.563% chance and multiply it to the power of 15 to figure out the calculations for what it would require to capture 15 Tauros with 6% capture rates each, giving us 0.06563 to the power of 15. We can then combine the probabilities of him encountering and catching 15 Tauros in Area 2. Then we do the same calculation, but for Area 3. All we have to do here is just change the numbers up a little bit of what we did prior. So the encounter rate in this area is 4% instead of 1%, and the capture rate, according to the Cave of Dragonflies, is 6.561%. You replace those two numbers, and then you multiply those two probabilities to get the combined probability of Ash encountering and catching 15 Tauros in Area 3. Which would mean the final probability of Ash encountering and catching 15 Tauros in Area 2, and then encountering and catching another 15 Tauros in Area 3 is approximately 3.48 times 10 to the power of negative 87. This is a tiny number. In order to wrap your head around how tiny this is, you have higher odds of winning the Powerball 10 times in a row than to do what Ash did with his 30 Safari Balls. It's the equivalent of flipping a coin and getting heads 288 times in a row, or it's like drawing the same card from a deck of 52 cards repeatedly 287 times in a row. Maybe Ho-Oh really did give Ash some major luck when he encountered him in episode 1. Who knows? But this is just something different I wanted to do. Hopefully I didn't mess up any of the math here. I think it looks good, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at @PdGaming, and that's it. I will talk to you guys later. Peace.